All right, UPSC aspirants, get ready, because today we are diving deep right into the core of Indian democracy.
The Panchayati Raj System.
You got it, and this is not just some history lesson.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going to break down exactly why it's so important for your current events prep.
It could be absolute gold for both mains and prelims.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
You know what's fascinating, though? We often talk about Panchayati Raj like it's this perfect system.
Like the ideal grassroots democracy.
Exactly. But the reality is...
It's a lot more complicated.
way more. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. We're going to unpack the good, the bad, and the...
Eat ugly.
yeah, the ugly truth about the challenges it faces today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just to get us started, did you know that almost 1.5 million women,
It's incredible.
I know, hold elected positions in these local governing bodies?
It really shows you the potential of the system.
It does. It's a powerful testament to what's possible. But here's the question. Does representation actually equal empowerment?
That's what we'll be exploring.
That's the big question. We'll be digging into that. But first, let's set the stage.
Yeah, let's do it.
Can you give us just a quick rundown of how this whole system came to be?
Absolutely. So the idea of decentralized governance in India,
Okay.
this isn't something new. You can trace it back
Really?
to ancient village councils.
Wow.
I know. But the modern form that we know as the Panchayati Raj system,
Right.
this was formally established by the 73rd Amendment to the Constitution back in 1992.
Huge moment.
Absolutely. This was a landmark moment. It enshrined the principles of democratic decentralization, bringing power down to the very grassroots level.
Okay, so it wasn't just about creating a structure. It was about changing how power works in India.
Fundamentally.
Yeah. And I know there was a really important committee involved in shaping the system as we know it today.
You're talking about the Balwant Rai Mehta Committee?
That's the one. What exactly was their role?
Well, they really laid the foundation back in the 1950s for the three-tier structure that we see today. You've got the Gram Panchayat at the village level, the Panchayat Samiti at the block level, and then the Zila Parishad at the district level.
So checks and balances built in from the ground up.
Precisely. Their recommendation for this tiered system was all about making sure you have effective and participatory governance at each level.
Okay, so the vision,
Was solid.
it was solid. What were some of the goals that the people who designed this system,
The architects.
yeah, the architects,
Yeah.
what were they hoping to achieve?
They really saw Panchayati Raj as a way to bring governance closer to the people.
Okay.
It was about empowering those rural communities to take charge of their own development,
Wow.
to have more people participate in the political process, and to ensure that local administration was actually effective.
This is where those UPSC keywords start popping up, right?
Exactly.
We're talking social justice, empowerment, good governance.
All the big themes that they love to test you on.
Exactly. And in those early years, were there any victories?
Oh, absolutely.
Things that we can celebrate?
Yeah. Big time. I mean, you mentioned earlier the sheer number of women in elected positions.
Incredible.
It's remarkable. It really signifies a shift in the traditional power dynamics, giving women a real voice in decisions that directly impact their lives and their communities.
Okay, so that's definitely something to highlight in your notes, folks.
Yeah.
But representation is just one part of the story. Did this system actually lead to real improvements?
Tangible changes.
Yeah. Did it live up to those goals?
In many areas, it absolutely did.
Really?
Panchayats played a crucial role in rolling out all sorts of social sector programs, particularly when it came to rural development.
Okay.
And here's something that might surprise you.
Okay, I love surprises.
The Constitution actually made it mandatory for state finance commissions to allocate resources directly to these local governments.
So they weren't just given tasks, they were given the resources to actually get things done.
Exactly. It was a deliberate move to give panchayats the financial power to actually fulfill their responsibilities.
So we're talking fiscal autonomy. That's a smart link to make for your mains prep, everyone.
Wow.
You said but earlier. So I have a feeling this is where things get a little less celebratory.
Yeah, while those early years showed a lot of promise, recent data paints a bit of a concerning picture.
Oh.
There seems to be some stagnation in how effectively administrative powers are actually being given to the panchayats. A 2022 report by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, their own report,
Oh, wow.
revealed that less than 20% of Indian states have actually fully transferred all 29 subjects listed in the 11th schedule of the Constitution to those local bodies.
So even though the Constitution says this power should be devolved, many states are kind of dragging their feet.
Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher.
What's the holdup? What's going on?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's something you might even get asked about in your mains exam
Oh, really?
to analyze those roadblocks to effective decentralization.
Okay.
Some people say that state governments just don't want to give up that control.
They want to hold on
Yeah.
to the power.
Exactly. Others say it's more about capacity issues,
Okay.
that the panchayats just don't have the resources or the expertise to handle all 29 subjects, effectively.
It's like giving someone a really complex machine without the proper training or the tools to use it.
Perfect analogy.
They might have the best of intentions, but it could be a total disaster.
Exactly.
And speaking of resources, you mentioned fiscal autonomy earlier. Are there challenges on that front as well?
Yeah, unfortunately there are.
Oh, no.
While panchayats do get funding, the way it's given to them can really limit their ability to act independently.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And this is where the idea of untied grants comes in.
Untied grants.
Okay.
Break that down for us.
So these are funds that local governments can use however they see fit,
Okay.
based on what their communities actually need. It's like giving them a toolbox instead of a pre-built shed.
I love that analogy. That's a good one.
They have the flexibility to choose the tools they need for the job.
To address their unique challenges.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the issue with these untied grants? Are they just not being provided enough?
It's not just about the amount, it's about the proportion.
Okay.
The share of untied grants has actually decreased
Really?
significantly in recent years. Under the 13th Finance Commission, it was around 85%, but now under the 15th Finance Commission, it's down to 60%.
Wow, so they have way less flexibility than they used to.
A lot less. This means more and more of the funding comes with all these conditions attached.
Dictating how it should be spent.
Exactly.
So less autonomy for the panchayats to make decisions based on what's actually happening on the ground.
And that can lead to a lot of frustration, both for the panchayat leaders and the people they represent.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And this trend of centralizing control over the money, is it getting worse?
Well, it's definitely not helping, and it's being made even more complicated by another big shift in India's welfare system.
Okay, tell me more.
Direct benefit transfer.
DBTs.
Exactly.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with those, can you just explain what they are and how they fit into all of this?
Sure. So DBTs basically involve sending money directly to the bank accounts of people who are supposed to benefit from these welfare programs.
Okay.
Think of things like PM Kisan, where financial assistance goes straight to farmers.
Right into their bank accounts.
Exactly. While this can be more efficient and reduce leakage, it also kind of bypasses those Panchayati Raj institutions.
So instead of the funds going through the local governments, who could be the ones identifying who needs the help and addressing any problems, it's now just a direct link between the central government and the individual.
That's right. And while the idea behind DBTs is good,
Streamlining things, making sure the money gets to the right people.
yeah, exactly. It does raise some really important questions about the role of the panchayats in this new system.
Do they become less important?
It's a valid question.
Does it hurt their authority?
Yeah.
Does it weaken that connection with the people they represent?
These are some really complex issues, and I could definitely see them showing up as an essay question on your mains exam.
For sure. It's not about picking sides. It's about understanding all the different angles.
The nuances.
Yes, exactly. The efficiency versus empowerment debate.
Yeah.
You need to be able to look at the pros and cons of both approaches and then articulate them clearly.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, so we've got these administrative roadblocks, shrinking fiscal autonomy, and now this whole changing landscape of welfare delivery. It's like a perfect storm putting pressure on this system.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But there's another big issue we haven't even talked about yet, right?
Oh, you're talking about urbanization.
India is urbanizing so rapidly.
Yeah.
How does that fit into all of this?
It's a huge factor and one that often gets overlooked. As India's cities grow at this crazy rate,
Unbelievable.
and more people move from rural areas, it raises some really fundamental questions about the future of the Panchayati Raj system.
Does a system that was originally designed for rural governance become less relevant in a country that's rapidly urbanizing?
That's the debate. Some argue that with all these changing demographics and the government focusing on other priorities, rural development might end up taking a backseat.
Okay.
Others believe that the Panchayati Raj system just needs to adapt.
Evolve.
Exactly, to keep up with the times and stay relevant.
So how do we balance these two seemingly opposite forces?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that a system designed to empower rural communities doesn't get left behind in the face of such massive change.
That's where finding solutions becomes so important, and that's exactly what we're going to dive into next.
All right, so we've spent a good amount of time talking about the challenges, but this is the deep dive, and we're all about solutions. So
Yeah, let's get to the good stuff.
let's do it. Where do we even begin to fix all these complex issues facing Panchayati Raj?
Well, we've got to go straight to the root of the problem.
Okay.
Administrative and fiscal decentralization states need to fully commit to transferring those 29 subjects,
All of them.
all of them to the panchayats, and they've got to do it with enough resources.
So no more dragging their feet.
No more excuses. We need to boost those untied grants, give them more control over local staff, basically empower them to actually govern effectively.
Empowerment. That's the key word.
Yeah.
But it's 2025, right? We live in a world dominated by technology. Surely there's a role for tech to play in all of this.
Absolutely. Imagine digital platforms for everything: planning, budgeting, monitoring schemes at the panchayat level.
It's all happening online.
Everything. Transparency would go through the roof.
Wow.
And it would be so much easier for citizens to hold their elected officials accountable.
And that goes back to citizen engagement, right?
Exactly.
Getting people involved, again, giving them a voice, making it easier for them to participate in these decisions.
That sense of ownership is so important for any democracy to function properly.
For sure. And technology could also help connect panchayats with each other, right?
Absolutely. Imagine creating these networks for sharing knowledge and best practices, like a panchayat in one state learning from a successful water conservation project in another state.
That's a great idea. Technology breaking down those barriers, facilitating collaboration. But beyond the tech, can the panchayats themselves evolve?
To better serve the needs of a changing India.
Yeah, like can they keep up with the times?
They have to. Think about it. They're in the perfect position to become hubs for innovation,
Wow.
particularly in areas like water conservation, renewable energy, even skill development.
That's amazing.
They could be leading the charge on climate resilience in rural communities, tackling the issues that directly impact people's lives every single day.
So we're not just talking about an administrative body, we're talking about a force for positive change.
Exactly. Driving sustainable development from the ground up.
I love it. But none of this can happen without the people, right?
Of course not. We need to get people excited at local governance again.
So how do we do that?
Awareness campaigns that explain how the Panchayati Raj system works.
Okay.
Simplify those processes, make it easy for people to get involved, and make sure there are mechanisms in place to ensure accountability.
So it's a multi-pronged approach.
It's gotta be.
Empowering the panchayats, leveraging technology, reimagining their role, and most importantly, getting the people involved again.
That's the key.
It is. And for our UPSC aspirants listening, all of this has been a masterclass in how to approach a complex issue.
Think about it. You've seen how to analyze challenges, evaluate policies, and even brainstorm solutions.
All those critical thinking skills that you need for the exam.
Exactly. You've got the historical background, the constitutional provisions, the current challenges, and even some innovative solutions. All those ingredients you need to write amazing mains answers.
And don't forget about the prelims potential here. The 73rd Amendment, the functions of panchayats' financial devolution. All of that could show up.
So it's important stuff.
Very important. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay, hit them with it.
Imagine you've just been elected to your local panchayat.
Oh, wow.
What would be your top priority? What concrete steps would you take to make the system more effective, more responsive, and truly representative of the people it serves?
Now, that's a question worth thinking about.
It is. It's not just about knowing the facts. It's about taking that knowledge and putting it into action, coming up with real solutions.
And that's the kind of thinking that's going to make you stand out in that exam hall.
Absolutely. So to all our future civil servants, let us know your thoughts down in the comments.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. What would you do as a panchayat leader?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into crucial UPSC topics. And remember, today's insights were drawn from the Hindu.
So stay updated on your current affairs.
Until next time, happy studying.